There have been some epic marathon battles out there at the World Championship. Now, this is only in my opinion, but the biggest battle of all time was 1989. It was Iron War. It was Mark Allen and Dave Scott. They were side by side each other in the swim, side by side on the bike, and then on the run. It took Mark Allen 23 miles to shake Dave Scott, and it was the first time that Mark Allen had ever taken the crown in Kona.
In his 7th Ironman for Mark Allen, the long quest for victory is over.
And what about in 2009, Craig Alexander, when he caught up to the leader off the bike, and that was Chris Lieto from the USA. Chris Lieto had always been one of those strong cyclists, did all the damage on the back end of the bike. So he set it up, and this run would come down to the very end as well. Craig Alexander, the way that he caught up to Chris Lieto was incredible. It wasn't game over. Chris Lieto actually came back at him, got back up onto his shoulder, put the pressure on. So kudos to Chris Lieto, and well done to Craig Alexander. That was an epic battle. What about the time that Chris McCormack was challenging Andreas Raelert from Germany? They got to the late stages in the marathon run, and Chris McCormack had looked across to Andreas Raelert, shook his hand and said, "May the best man win." Well, Andreas fell into that trap. Macca looked behind, put in a surge, and went off to take his one of 2 Ironman crowns. Who could forget about Lionel Sanders? What an incredible effort it was from the Canadian. Patrick Langer has gone on to win 2 Ironman World Championships, but Lionel Sanders gave it everything that day. Look, whether you like that run style or not, it works for Lionel, and it almost got him into that first place of the Ironman World Championship. But Patrick Langer, he's one of the fastest runners the sport has ever seen, and it took his best day to hold him off.
World champion, Patrick Langer!
The marathon battles continued in the women's category. It was incredible. Paula Newby-Fraser and Karen Smyers, they might not have been having a battle out on the Kona coast, but the battle was going on inside of Paula Newby-Fraser's head. This day, she would have a huge lead. Right up until that 25.5-mile mark, Paula Newby-Fraser couldn't do anything but sit down on the corner of Hualalai Road and Ali'i Drive. Buckets and gallons of water were just poured over Paula's head. She was having a complete meltdown. Look, she's one of my good buddies, but this was epic.
And she will walk towards the line in 3rd place here.
And how good is Paula Newby-Fraser to come back in 1996, faced with Natasha Bardman, the Swiss Miss, 3:09 for Paula and a 3:16 for Natasha on a hard bike day that day. So that was Paula's day. Laurie Bowden and Natasha Bardman had some of the greatest runs out there, and it took Laurie Bowden record pace to win the race. Now, she might have won it in record fashion, but it was the time to look at the clock and say, this was the very first times that women were consistently going under 3 hours, and it was Laurie Bowden and Heather Fuhr that were doing it consistently, but it took Laurie's best days to get those victories. And what about the year of Leander Cave and Mirinda Carfrae? Leander Cave is a great swimmer, a great biker, and she is a good runner. But Mirinda Carfrae, she is the best marathon runner that we've ever seen in Kona. And to this day, she is just about to break that 250 mark. She comes all the way up onto the back of Leander Cave, and you would think that Leander would buckle to Mirinda Carfrae, but she held strong and held on for that victory. And that was an incredible race running with a lot of pressure. And the latest and one of the most epic battles in women's Kona history of all time had to be in 2019, where you would think that Lucy Charles in 2nd place, getting after Annie Haug after Annie had gotten the lead, you would think that she would have challenged for the lead, but it was Sarah Crowley. She was charging from behind up onto the shoulder of Lucy Charles, goes by, Lucy has a little bit of a down moment, then she gets her composure right back. And it wasn't until just before the top of Palani Hill that Lucy Charles came back at Sarah Crowley. It was incredible. We were all waiting down at the finish line for this show to happen, but it happened right up at the top at about 1.5 miles to go with Lucy Charles, as gritty and gutsy as she is, came back at that champion, Sarah Crowley, for the second place and put Sarah into third. That was one of the most incredible marathon battles out there. Come on, Ali, sister, let's go, let's win this thing together. Well, I think that they were having sibling rivalry here because it was always Sylviane that was able to pull away from Patricia, and that year was awesome for Sylviane, taking one of her 2 titles.
Bowden went on to win, and Smyers thought she was going on to the Olympics, at least more Ironmans. But Karen had a secret.